Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why sometimes you feel like you need to rush a decision, and other times it is better to take your sweet time? Well, this new study dives deep into that very question. You know how in life you often have to make a choice between being super fast or being super accurate, right? Like if you are trying to catch a ball, you can either react instantly and maybe miss or wait a split second longer to make sure you get a good grab. Psychologists call this the speed-accuracy trade-off. For ages, the common idea has been that we all try to be as efficient as possible, maximizing the rewards we get per unit of time. Think of it like trying to earn as much money as possible in an hour. But what if the way you earn money changes things? What if some ways of earning money make you want to be more careful, even if it means taking longer? That's the big idea behind this fascinating research. So the researchers here asked a really smart question: when we're trying to balance speed and accuracy, what are we really trying to optimize? Is it always just getting the most reward as quickly as possible? They realized that the way rewards are given or accumulated over time can dramatically change what the best strategy is. They proposed a new way to think about this. Instead of just maximizing the immediate reward rate, they suggest we should focus on maximizing the long-run growth rate of our resources over time. This sounds a bit abstract, but it's key. Imagine you have a bank account. One way to grow it is by getting a fixed amount every day, say $50. Another way is by getting a percentage of what you already have, like 10% each day. These are different dynamics. To test this, they set up a framework. They imagined an agent dealing with tasks that have outcomes like winning or losing, and these outcomes affect their resources. They focused on two main scenarios. The first is an additive environment. This is like getting a fixed bonus or penalty. You gain $10 or lose $5 no matter how much money you have. The second is a multiplicative environment. This is like earning interest or paying fees on a loan. If you have $100 and get a 10% bonus, you gain $10. But if you have $1,000 and get a 10% bonus, you gain $100. The amount you gain or lose depends on your current resources. This difference in dynamics is crucial. In an additive system, maximizing your expected reward per unit time works great. It's like trying to get the most money per each hour. But in the multiplicative system, things get complicated. Because losses hurt more than equivalent gains, help think about losing $100 versus gaining $100 when you have $1,000. It becomes much more valuable to avoid big losses. This means you might want to be slower and more accurate to reduce the chance of errors. And that's exactly what they found. They created a model where the probability of success improved with more time. Just like in real life, they then simulated what the optimal response time would be in both additive and multiplicative scenarios, making sure the potential gains and losses were comparable. In the additive scenario, the optimal response time was around 746 milliseconds. But in the multiplicative scenario, even with the exact same potential gains and losses, the optimal time jumped to 1187 milliseconds. That's almost a 60% increase in response time, leading to significantly higher accuracy. This is a really powerful finding because it shows that the environment's reward structure fundamentally changes what the best speed-accuracy balance is. They also looked at other factors like the time spent not actually responding, called non-decision time, and the time between trials. They found that these fixed delays also push the optimal response time to be longer, and this effect is seen in both additive and multiplicative environments. It makes sense if a significant chunk of time is already spent not doing the task. You want to make sure the part you can control. Your response is as accurate as possible. Perhaps the most impactful part of their research is showing why simply maximizing the expected reward rate can be wrong, especially in those multiplicative environments. They simulated agents playing this game. One group of agents tried to maximize their immediate reward rate, as is common in many models. Another group correctly used their new framework to maximize the long-run growth rate, accounting for the multiplicative dynamics. The results were dramatic. The agents using the simpler expected reward rate strategy in the multiplicative environment ended up with significantly less wealth over time. Even though their strategy seemed optimal based on older ideas, it failed to account for the compounding nature of the rewards, leading them to fall exponentially behind the agents who correctly considered the long-term growth. It's like a squirrel trying to hoard nuts by just grabbing the most nuts it sees immediately, versus a squirrel that plans its hoard considering how much it will need in winter and how best to store them to last. This highlights a huge implication. When we observe someone being slower or more cautious, it's not always a sign of a cost of control or a cognitive deficit. As many theories assume, it might simply be a rational adaptation to the reward dynamics of their environment. So, what does this mean for us? It means that understanding how we make decisions, especially when facing risks or trying to achieve goals over time, requires us to look beyond just immediate rewards. The structure of how we gain or lose resources, whether it's money, points in a game, or even time, profoundly shapes our optimal strategies. This research is a significant step in that direction. It provides a more nuanced and perhaps more accurate way to understand decision making. It tells us that real-world environments are complex, and our brains might be doing a lot more sophisticated calculation than we previously thought, adapting not just to the immediate payoffs but to the long-term consequences of different reward structures. One of the most exciting parts is that this framework makes testable predictions. If you can set up experiments with these different reward dynamics, you can actually see if people behave as predicted, choosing slower, more accurate responses in multiplicative environments. This can help us refine our understanding of cognitive control and even how certain neurological or psychiatric conditions might affect decision making by altering how individuals perceive or interact with these reward dynamics. Of course, like all research, there are limitations. The studies are often done in controlled lab settings, and real life is much messier. People might not perfectly understand the reward rules, or they might be optimizing for short-term goals within the experiment, rather than the long-term growth the theory is based on. Future research will need to explore more complex reward structures, like those with absorbing boundaries, where you can lose everything, or where the dynamics themselves change over time. They also need to look at how learning and gaining information during a task fit into this picture. Overall, this paper offers a compelling new perspective on something we do all the time, balancing speed and accuracy. It shows that the simple rule of maximize reward rate isn't always the best. By considering the underlying dynamics of how our resources grow or shrink, we can understand why sometimes the slower, more careful path is the truly optimal one for long-term success. What do you think? Does this resonate with your own experiences? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations into the fascinating world of psychology and neuroscience. See you next time.